It's a special edition of My Taste in Naija. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of young African kids now playing football in the UK. And that journey starts at home with their parents supporting their talents. And of course, we've seen the likes of Nwaneri or Saka at Arsenal and where they are. However, a lot of them still don't know how to go through the process of sourcing scouts, taking them through the whole process of joining clubs, and ultimately getting to that top level. Well, guess what? Today we're going to be sitting with a FIFA licensed agent who will be shedding more light on what and how to go about this entire process. And we have the perfect backdrop here. Shakhtar Donetsk and Arsenal under 19 are playing just before we have the big game later in the evening. It's a My Taste in Naija special. Welcome. Mr. Segun Utmostt, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
In fact, this is something we've always wanted to do for a while, but I'll just break into the basic conversation. There are a lot of African parents who live abroad and they come here, and at a certain point they start to see some footballing talents in their children. But over the years, we've heard many stories of some players that had talent, had prospects, and they fell short of moving to that level. Maybe because their parents didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the right connect to link them to all the different levels, playing levels or youth academies to join, or someone to advise them properly. So the whole essence of this conversation we're having today is just to know like an A to Z process of what parents, guardians should be looking out for when they have young talent, or if they've spotted talent in their children from a very young age. What should they be doing? How should they be going about making the progress of the child smooth, male and more recently female. You know? So let's kick off the conversation from there.
Well,
first of all, introduce yourself.
My name is Segun Jegede. I'm a FIFA licensed agent, an FA licensed agent. I'm a sports consultant, and I do other things in terms of player management, player mentoring, and I do psychological sessions. And I consult for parents and different sports entities and club entities in terms of what is needed. You have different entities in the football industry. You have the player, you have the parents, you have scouts, you have agents, administrators, and so on and so forth. But the most important entity in the football industry is the footballer, male or female.
Okay.
And like you rightly said, there's a lot of parents that understand that the kids have the talent, but they don't know what to do. I will always say the most important aspect of the success of a professional footballer from a young age has to do with the parents. The foundation has to start with the family, and that's where you can always get it right. So the thing to do for a male or female footballer that the talent has been spotted is actually put them in what you call a grassroots team.
How do they spot this talent to start with?
So, as parents, I always say to people that parents are the best scouts around.
Whoa, okay.
But it's just that they don't know how to go about things the official way, because they're watching their kids play. They see them through the developmental stages. Some people have their kids playing football as early as 1. They just kick anything they see, and that's from 1. They start kicking. You see kids start picking up things, they put it in their mouth. Some, but when it comes to football, you will notice they start kicking things, and parents will be like, you know what, this kid can play football. They put football in front of them, they start kicking. And what usually happens most of the time is parents take their kids to parks. I've had a lot of parents tell me, they just go to the park, they look at people training, and then they look for a team to join. But the most important process is to look for a grassroots team. Locally, there will always be, because the FA have done a lot of grassroots work. In the UK, there's a lot of parks. If you go to the park, you see at least 4 to 5 sets of people doing sessions, playing, whether they're playing for a local team or they're just playing about. And then the most important aspect now is, how do you find the teams, the local teams? So in South London, there's what we call the Cell Kent League. Cell Kent League. That's where all the young players play. And then sometimes you have what you call the Tanbridge League. and then there's the Kent Youth League as well. But once you go to parks, you will find 1 or 2 coaches there training footballers, and then you can make inquiries and ask them.
At this stage, do you need an agent?
No, you don't. In the UK, the age where a player needs an agent is when they turn 16.
16?
The 1st of January of the year they turn 16,
yes,
they can have an agent.
Okay, but before then?
But before then, what they just needed to enjoy football, play, because the most important thing in football is to enjoy it. Once you start going pro, the enjoyment will still be there, but it becomes business.
Exactly.
And in business, you have to take informed decisions. Mm-hmm. So there's no right or wrong way to doing it from an early age. What parents need to do is to ask the right people, ask mentors, ask school teachers, put them in the limelight. When I say in the limelight, let them join the school team, just do whatever it takes, but it's a lot of effort.
So all these players now, we've heard of the likes of Saka, who actually has been part of the Arsenal Academy from a very, very young age. You're saying they didn't have any agent in that whole process?
They have agents. You're
working with them, working with the family?
Working with the family from you're allowed to have agents when you turn 16.
16, but before then?
So before then, what you have is you have people supporting, you have coaches, you have scouts. Okay. There's a guy called Kurt,
okay.
K-U-R-T, you can check him up. That's one of the key guys. I think it's from the Caribbean,
okay,
that looked after Saka from a very, very young age.
Okay.
You can see videos online where Saka has actually mentioned it himself. So these players have people that impact them from a very young age.
Okay.
They'll pick 1 or 2 people that they can say, you know what, this person has really impacted me a lot. So what parents need to do is to ask a lot of questions, okay, and do their research and support the kids. But it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of determination, it's a lot of encouragement and a lot of sacrifice, because it's a very, very tiny margin of footballers that make it to professional level.
So for every Saka that we see, maybe 1,000 have fallen off the radar.
I'll tell you one thing. When you have a footballer that joins an academy and then by age 16 they get given scholarship, by 18 they offered professional deals, sometimes at 17. The ones that get given professional deals at 18, by the time they turn 20, 21, more than 80% of them are not in football anymore.
More than 80%?
More than 80, because they're not given the next set of contracts. It's a very, very interesting environment. It's a very, very competitive environment where it's the stakes are high. You have to keep going. You know, there's something that goes along the line that it's not about the intensity of the motivation, but the stamina of the motivation. Okay. Meaning those who fall, get injured, are rejected, are dejected, as long as they keep going, they get to the promised land. But there's a lot of decisions to be made from a very early age till you turn pro, and then when you turn pro as well, okay, you have to keep playing. And players are judged all the time. They're always judged. So if you play a perfect game last week or yesterday, and today the game is not gone on well, you have analysts, you have fans. There's a lot of critics in football. So it's about having the stamina and being motivated to always carry on, come rain, come sunshine. And a player cannot do that by themselves. It's the support around them,
support system,
especially the family. So the most important aspect of a footballer's career starts with the family. The family is the foundation of the success of a footballer, because that's the only way they can make it. You have parents taking their kids to training 3, 4, 5 times a week. Their weekend is totally gone. Saturday, Sunday.
That's a major commitment.
It is, and you're committed for what you're not sure of. So what to do is, if you know you want your child to go into football, you have to support them. And the support comes in from all these things that we've mentioned. However, even if the footballer doesn't get to become a professional footballer, there's a lot of life skills, social skills that they pick up. You know, cognition in terms of analyzing information, discipline, getting to the team on time, talking to people, having interaction, injuries, you know, setbacks, bounce back. There's a whole lot of psychological things that can be learned from the process of being a footballer or a sports person.
us to talk about academies, because today now we're here to watch the youth game between Arsenal and Shakhtar Donetsk, and the senior teams are playing a Champions League game this evening.
Yes.
So the members or the players who we're going to watch, they belong to the academies, the club academies, right?
Yes.
So what role does the academy play? How soon can a player join the academy? Does the academy fill the role of the primary, the tertiary education, primary to secondary? Is that the role of the academies? And how do these players, at what point can they get into these academies?
So most professional clubs have what you call an academy, and it takes a couple of millions a year to run it. They have different categories, from category 1 to category 4.
Okay.
The club we're here to watch today is Arsenal. Their category is 1. So that's the...
As in like right at the top?
Yeah, right at the top. So what happens is the club academies give the players a platform to thrive, to develop, to learn, and to develop.
Okay.
And players start getting signed from around 8, 9.
8, 9?
Yes, from a very, very early
Someone
age.
like Saka probably joined at 8.
Around that kind of age. However, they start picking them up from like 5, 6. So the players will have what we call grassroots teams,
okay.
And the club start watching. And they go through the ranks. By the time they're 8, 9, they get signed,
okay.
And then they come into the building. So they have a weekly structural program for them where they train and
like
they
they're
play.
in school. It's like a school academy, yeah.
So it's like a school of football.
Okay.
So they're learning football, and then they're getting a lot of experiences and lived experiences, because they take them to matches, sometimes at the first team games or this kind of games. So it's an institution where footballers learn about football, and then you keep going. But they're living with their parents, as at that age. When they turn 16, that's what we call the scholar age.
Okay.
It's 2-year scholarship. So when you hear that players get given scholarship, it's from 16 to 18. So that's when the club takes them in, and they school within the premises of the club or whatever arrangement they have, and then they play football for 2 years. So at the end of these 2 years, the club now determines who are the ones that we're going to give professional deals.
Like Nwaneri, who just recently signed a professional contract.
So, and that's how it works. So when you turn 18, then the club will negotiate for a professional deal. That means you've earned the right to be a professional.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop there. You have to always continue playing. You have to keep thriving. I think the young man there has got a thing for us.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I have another one, please? Cheers. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is the team list for
team
today.
list for today's game.
Yes, for today. And then you can see the formation they're going to play.
Okay.
And it just shows you everything, the name. So when people come and watch, you know what you're watching, who you're watching, the things. So this is the beginning of the process for the players.
Okay.
And this is, you can see, it's UEFA Youth League for 2024-25 league phase. So the next crop of players that will be playing the Champions League, this is how they start their own journey.
But
So
this is further down the line now.
This is further down the line. This is under 19s.
Okay.
So, and this set of players that play under 19s as well can also play under 21s. Okay. But what UEFA have done is just to sort of nurture them from this age and get them prepared. And so psychologically and mentally, they're getting prepared for the next stage of their career. So some of these players will be playing for the first team
at some point,
or some are on the verge, they're training with the first team. So that's what the institution of football is like.
Okay.
You build a player from a very young age, and then you keep going up the ladder until you get to the promised land where you get the contract, and then the work begins all over again.
So let me ask you a question as a layman.
Yes.
So at some point, the exceptional talents start to stand out. You know, maybe from the ages of 13, 14, everybody starts to talk about a particular player that has got something, but then they're not professionals yet. At what point do the agents start to hound or chase the parents?
So what happens is, by 16, like I said, a player is allowed to have an agent by 16.
Yeah, but some of them are chased before then though.
So what happens is, people start looking and having a look at the player and seeing which ones can be the talent. Well, I would say, in psychology, it's what we call the developmental stages. And in the UK system, if you are very familiar with the ages of the players, of the school year, they use the school year.
Yeah.
So you have some that you call early born and late borns. And what usually happens is the early borns are not as physically strong or as developed as the late born.
Okay.
So you have some players 5 months older than other players. Some are like, I think, 8, 9, 10 months.
And those margins matter.
Matter. So you see a player that they'll say you can't cope, he's struggling. However, it's a continuous trajectory of development.
Okay.
So even the clubs get it wrong. Nobody has a magic crystal ball. Someone like Harry Kane was in Arsenal, was released.
He was released from Arsenal.
He was released from Arsenal. It was an early born as well. So physically he couldn't cope. And that's actually one of the case studies we did when we were doing a course with FIFA.
Yeah.
Harry Kane was used as an example. So I personally, as an agent, because I have different qualifications, I have a BS in business economics and I have a master's in psychology. In fact, my thesis, which was my project when I was doing my master's in psychology, was about the importance of resilience to professional footballers.
Okay.
And then I had themes within the research where it shows a lot of things that came out in terms of being resilient, setbacks, and how you can bounce back. So sometimes these struggles, this setback is actually what makes a player stronger and makes them even better than the people that were better than them. So in football, you have to keep going on. You have to keep, there'll be setbacks along the line, but those who have the resilience that build the mental strength are the ones that can stay in the game for a very, very long time. So when, like to go back to your questions, you might think a 15-year-old stands out exceptionally among his colleagues right now. By the time they turn 16, some other people have overtaken them. They've actually outgrown them. So there's a lot of different things that people look out for in football. You look at the physicality, you look at the football intelligence, you look at the discipline, and clubs look at the family setting as well, even though people don't know that.
Can there be too much pressure on the kid at a young age, and how can parents who are not professionals manage that within the home?
So there's always pressure in football, because when you hear footballers just saying, I just want to play. So when you have a craft or you have a talent, it's a talent thing where people are talented. Even when you look at musicians, look at artists, that talent has its pros and its cons. But the most important thing is for the family to hone it and to manage the talent. Now, how to manage it is a different case entirely, because you have different sets of parents. How do you come as a mentor or as an agent or as a scout to tell a parent they don't know what they're doing? Because a lot of the times parents are learning as they go along the way. So what I will say to parents, they need to do a lot of research. Do not put pressure on your child. Do not put your child in the shoes you wanted to feel for yourself, because a lot of parents see that and they think, oh, I understand football, I support this club, I can play football, so this is what I want my child to be. You have to understand that as they're going into an environment, the clubs have a lot of authority to nurture them, but it's a club that will give them the platform. So parents have to work with the club and their child to find a common ground to get them to the level where they need to get to, which can be very, very difficult, because there's different things that as you're going up along the line, the kids are growing up, there's a lot of mistakes and errors along the line. But what I would suggest to parents is to look for the right advice, do a lot of research that can actually help them in areas where they make informed decisions.
So let's talk about when they sign their first contract. And they've now moved from maybe £100 a week to £10,000 a week. They're earning a lot of money. At 18, they're adults. And a lot of challenges, I believe, also come with that. Lifestyle issues. We've heard of so many young players, extremely gifted players, but upon signing their first contract, they start to earn money. All elements, social elements start to converge on them. How do they manage this? What role can the parents play in managing this? We've heard a lot of stories of young players that have struggled from the moment they start to earn big money. So take us through that period.
I will always say everything depends on the family. Family, like I've said continuously, that's the most important institution that can help the player achieve success. what players are being asked for or to do, a lot of the time, they're not being given the tools. And who's supposed to give them these tools? The parents.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of the time, the parents don't have the tools because they don't have the know-how. People just feel, oh, I see Saka playing on the pitch. I see Saliba playing on the pitch. I see all sorts of players, oh, my child can play. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. There's a lot of decision. There's a lot of sacrifices. There's a lot of errors. What do parents need to do? Now, what parents need to do is, number one, not put pressure on their children by saying, oh, you have to be this, you have to be that. What they need to do is to help them psychologically. You look for different people. As a footballer, to have a successful career, you need to have a good agent. You need to have a good mentor. You need to have a good family. And the family needs to do a lot of research. You need to have a good coach that can take you through different skills, different drills. I can put you in match situations, and you need a mentor. So you see a lot of African players now, their reference point is always Saka.
Yes.
So whether Saka likes it or not, is a mentor. They're looking at him for inspiration. They want to be like him, because once you can see it, you can feel it, and then you can be it. And the psychological side or the mental side of the football is not what it's talked enough about. That's the most important aspect of a player's performance. Because if you're a very, very good footballer and you get on the pitch and you freeze, there's nothing you can do. If you've got your first contract and the manager changes, what do? And the manager has different plans. So you're always being judged on a regular basis. And who do you fall back to? The family, the parent. If the families are not putting pressure on the child, there'll be a lot of damage to the child. And so to sort of curb these things, families have to sort of strengthen themselves with a lot of information and research and knowledge. But unfortunately, enough of that is not being done. So this is what I say to parents. Parents, when you want your child to play football, you're actually saying to football clubs, this is my child. Take my child, nurture them. Because they're the ones giving them the platform. But then there's the business side of football that people don't understand. It is not a joke. It is not, there's more than enjoyment to it. When the child is playing grassroots football, that's the best time they can enjoy football. The minute you put yourself in a business environment, you're supposed to enjoy football because it's an entertainment. You must deliver all the time. You must deliver all the time. And when you don't deliver, sometimes parents come hard on the child. Their friends come hard on them. Opposition fans come on them. Their own fans come upon them. So a lot of education needs to be had around this topic because that's the most important aspect. So
the big elephant in the room. There are many agents out there, and we've also heard that there are some who are kind of like unscrupulous and who don't particularly have the interest of the players at heart. They just want a paycheck. Who makes the decision? Who of all the parties involved in the career of a young player, who makes the choice of who the agent will be, and what should they be looking out for in a good agent, and how can they measure how well that agent works for them or for the interest of their ward? Okay,
so this question is a very, very good and interesting question, and there's a lot of variations to it. There's different segments I'm going to answer for you to understand. So a footballer that is not yet 18 years old cannot sign with an agent because he's not yet an adult. So the parents have to sign for the child. So what my advice would be for the parents to ask the question, sit down with the agent and ask the agent a lot of questions, their experience, check if they're FIFA licensed. They have that's the first step. That's the first step. And there are different ways to ask for that. You can ask the player to send them, the agent to show them their certification in terms of, it's just there's a barcode. Once you give them the barcode, then they can go on the FIFA website and check, or they can actually ask for the name and you can check. It's online. You can check on the FIFA website or the FA website. But for me, the most important thing is people think that agents, I'm an agent myself, but this all work for a footballer to thrive and to be successful is not just down to the agent alone. The player, the family, the club, and the agent have a lot of work to do. So an agent can have access to Barcelona or Real Madrid or anything, but if the club doesn't want the player, what can the agent do? Nothing. Because people are under the perception that, oh, they must go with an agent that's well established, maybe Ronaldo's the
big name agents.
It doesn't really matter. If you find an agent that is very, very good, that they know what they're doing, and they show the interest of the player. And how do they show the interest of the player? You ask them such questions. What are your plans for this player? What would you do to sort of develop them and nurture them? Because it's not just about playing football. An agent has to work with
the
parents and the player and for them, meaning they're negotiating for them. So the club have people that work with the club and for the club. Even though the player is under the auspices, they're giving the player platform, but you have to understand that the club pays for these people. They're not necessarily called agents, but they work for the club. Because there can be some misconceptions that the club always has the best interest or they have the worst interest of the player. That's not the case. The case is, obviously, if you're doing a business and you've invested, you want the best. But the clubs have so many players that they're looking at. Sometimes they can miss one or two things. So which is why it is good for parents to choose the right agent that can work with them, that can understand the dynamics of the family. If a player is from Africa, my suggestion is you need somebody that understands the African setting properly. Because you have to look at a player can qualify to play for 2 or 3 countries. And these things matter in the valuation of players, which there's a lot of these aspects that parents and footballers don't understand because they're just going into it.
So let me put you on the spot. So if my son was playing here, I'm going through the whole ranks as an academic player, and it gets to that point where, as the dad, I want him to play for my home country, Nigeria. But he was born here, he was raised here, and he wants to play for England. Does that become a challenge at times for the agents or the family?
It becomes a challenge if you're not sure of the procedure or what will suit the child. It's about valuation. Football is about value.
And the country he decides to play for would also affect his valuation.
It will. So what happens is, as a young player, when you choose a country to play for and you play for the national team, your stock rises. Whether it's England or Nigeria or Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire, whatever country you're from, your stock rises. But what I feel needs to happen a lot is the FAs from Africa, they need to liaise with the players in the UK and Europe, sort of understand the background of these players. So there's a lot of missing elements there. And a good agent will be able to ask different questions and can point you in the right direction. So for the players that I have, I sit down with the parents. I have players that they have triple nationality, one nationality, or dual nationality. So a player that has dual nationality will have more value, provided they're delivering on the pitch. So whatever an agent can do, or they feel or think they can do, the first job of an agent is to make sure the player is playing properly. And playing well. Because there's this conception that agents do magic, or agents can open the doors to clubs, which is true. But if you're opening the door to a club, is the player at the level, or is the player what the club wants? So there's what you call a matching system. What I personally do for my players is I say to them, listen, this club, this is the matching system. That club, this is the matching system. Who is your favorite player? How do you want to play? How do you want to develop? These are the things you need to do. Go to bed early. Stay away from screen. Eat proper food. Eat well, no junk food, because your body is a temple for professionalism. If injury happens, if you eat junk food, the probability of you recuperating is
lower.
It's very, very slow. So there's a whole lot of things, not just, an agent is just a part of the process. Like I said, there's the scouting process, there's the club process, there's the parental process, there's the psychological process. It's a whole lot of variation. So a good agent will have an understanding of the full picture. And an agent is not just doing negotiations for deals for footballers. There's a lot of things you have to look out for. You have players sometimes as young as 16 that they don't even sleep at night because they're scared about getting scholarship. So the mental side of football is even more important than the physical side, because we talk about, are you fit? Are you physically fit? But are you mentally fit? And when people talk about mental health, people just think it's about people that have gone crazy. No. Mental means your state of mind, the brain, how it works. Is it healthy? So if you're not sleeping well at night, that's not healthy. If you're not drinking enough water, that's not healthy. If you are associating yourself around negative people, that's not healthy. As a footballer, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. So when your mates are out partying, what are you doing? Is it that you're sleeping, or you're doing things positively that will affect you, or you're training? There's a lot of sacrifices to be made.
Interesting. So I'm going to ask the big question here. Who's the next African superstar from the UK or anywhere?
There's a lot of them actually, and I can give you some. We have Ife, Ibrahim, we have Ovie Ejeheri, Nathan Butler Oyedeji, we have Dotu Lamidi, Toby Akinika, Tomiwa Akinika, we have Aiden Evan. I've mentioned Nathan.
Yes.
There's quite a lot of them, but those are the ones I can remember on top of my head right now, because I watch a lot of games. But those ones I've mentioned to you, they're going places.
So guess what? We have a parent here whose son is on the bench. Introduce yourself, sir. What's your name, sir?
My name is Benga Ibrahim, and my son's name is Ifeoluwa Ibrahim.
Ifeoluwa Ibrahim.
Yeah.
And he mentioned it as one of the next likely African superstars in the UK.
I hope so.
How old is he?
16.
16. And how long have you been, or when did you spot the talent in him?
I spotted the talent when he was very young, when he was about 5 years old, but I didn't know how he goes in this country.
Okay.
So he started playing when he was 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you have to do? Did you introduce him to a club or a scout?
No.
Was he scouted? How did it go? What was the process for you?
Yeah, I introduced him to the game as a grassroots game.
Locally, yeah?
And then during those periods, I was paying, and all of a sudden...
You were paying?
Yeah, paying. Yeah, like all these coaches that do things.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was paying, and then during that process, Tottenham scouted him.
Okay.
And then when Tottenham scouted him, and we played...
The local enemy to us now.
Yeah. So he was going to Tottenham, and then we were now playing for AFC All Stars, which is a Sunday League club. So
in London.
There, in London. So from there, the first game he played, Arsenal now scouted him.
So the very first game?
Yeah, the very first game he played. So he didn't go to the development center, he went straight to the academy.
Okay.
Because they believe that he's ready, he's quite a good player. So
Sports fans wouldn't have been happy.
No, really. He doesn't like, anytime you go to sports, he doesn't like the way they play the game, the way they are being teaching them the doctrine how to play the game. He doesn't like, he always cry that they don't know how to play football because they are encouraging them to hold the ball.
Okay.
He doesn't hold the ball, he likes to pass the ball.
Express himself.
He understands that football moves quicker than human being.
Okay.
So anytime you are so young, kids, they like to hold on to the ball. He doesn't do that from young.
Okay.
He likes to pass the ball, to go into pace, to receive the ball. So that was why when he went to sport, he doesn't really enjoy it. Yeah.
So at 16 now, really, and he's on the bench for this big game now, the prospects are looking kind of good as it is right now.
Yeah, very well, because his position that he's meant to play, the guy that is playing it is in the 19 game, they have 3 older players.
Okay.
So he's older player. So they gave that one a priority ahead of him.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, during the game, he's going to come in.
I'm sure there are moments that he comes to you, he feels a bit down, maybe he didn't have a good game. How do you manage that as a parent?
As a parent, the day he doesn't have a good game, that is the game I'm going to allow him to enjoy himself.
Okay.
I'll take him out, eat a lot of food that he wants.
Okay.
Yeah, so because that's the only time you can encourage them, because they can't be perfect every now and then.
Indeed.
But I always tell him that hard work always paid off. Yes,
Eventually.
there is nobody that work has never killed anybody in life.
Yes.
What kills people is laziness. So I always tell him, you know what? Continue working hard and believe in yourself, and life is not rosy.
And lastly, is he going to play for the Super Eagles or for the Three Lions?
To be honest, he has played for England.
Okay.
Yeah, he has played for England for a couple of games. And who knows what's going to happen, but Nigeria is Nigeria, isn't it?
We leave that to God.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And good luck.
And you too.
Well
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
You've given a whole lot of great advice, and this is going to be a special episode for those who have children, not just in football, but in sports generally, because all the rules apply. How can they reach you if they want to come and get in contact with you?
I'm on social media at Utmostt, Utmostt.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Segun Jegede.
Okay.
Utmostt Sports Management. So Utmostt. You can reach me on all social media.
All social media.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll also leave a lot of the information in the description box if you need to know anything else. This has been a My Taste in Naija special, and we've been talking about what it would take for parents in particular, what they need to know in the growth and the build-up of their wards who are into sports. It's a My Taste in Naija special. See you next time.